Hello, hello. I want to welcome you to Beauty Superstars Talk, your backstage pass to experts in beauty. My name is Miki Wright, and I'm your host and a salon pricing strategist with beautysuperstars.com. I help struggling hairstylists go from that to beauty superstars and who can confidently raise their prices and charge what they're worth. I want to thank you guys for joining us. And a little while ago, I posted that I had been selected as a judge for NAHA, which is the North American Hairstyling Awards. And it's actually one of the most prestigious beauty competitions in North America. And the response was really overwhelming. When I was planning the post, I was going to post about, being honored to have the opportunity. Many of you guys know me as a business coach, but I've actually competed throughout my career. And starting in cosmetology school, you can actually see, I guess, some of the awards behind me. But I have um, won many awards. I've, not won some competitions, and I've actually fully understand, I guess, the whole process of, the fun of winning and, the downs, but the lessons that come with not winning, and basically how it impacted my career on a day-to-day basis as a hairstylist behind the chair. And it's like in so many positive ways. So we're going to talk about some of those things today. I'm really honored to have my guest here, Dave Ray. He is a longtime competitor, award-winning hairstylist. His list goes on and on. I'll share his bio a little bit later, but he is a judge, and he's the head of judges for the Bronner Brothers organization for their competitions. And so I'm excited that we're going to have this conversation. I'm just going to share a little bit as far as what was going on for me with doing that post, because it evolved from what it started from into what it became, and it became very emotional. So as I was writing it, it's like I was thinking about, just how blessed I was to have admired and then trained with and then taught with one of the best hairstylists to ever compete, Mr. Thomas Hayden, or Mr. T as he's called. And he was one of the first African Americans to win an international competition, and he was the first African American male hairdresser to win. So, kudos to Mr. T. If you don't know, about him, it's like I actually had the pleasure to do an audio interview with him not that long before he passed away, and so that will be coming to my podcast at some point. You'll get to hear a little bit about who he was, because he's a great person, in addition to and being a great hairstylist and great competitor. But in addition to getting to work with them, I actually had the opportunity to judge with them, and he actually shared a lot of nuggets about judging competitions that I, definitely still treasure, and they actually still apply today. So the funny part, I guess, was when I started writing, it's like it took me back even further, because my mom is a hairstylist. She went to cosmetology school when I was about 6 weeks old, and I was her model at least once or twice around, and I was around to see some of that. It's like we actually won a competition, and we've got a picture of that, which was pretty exciting. I was probably a tween at that time, a young teen or a tween, and but I saw a lot of the things that went into competition. Model selection, the prepping and practicing with the hair, the color, the hair color, having to get that right, the theme, whatever that was, the creativity, and even the clothes, to make it a total look, even if that was being judged or not. And I actually witnessed her win, and I witnessed her not winning, or winning, like a second or third place when she really wanted first. And in all of this, it's like I know I'm going on and on, but in all of this, it was not lost on me the role that race has played in a lot of these competitions. And I do this show, it came or was born from the tragic murder of George Floyd, and the racial tensions that erupted right after that, and erupted right, kind of spilled into the beauty industry immediately, because it is still one of the most segregated industries in the country, along with churches. And so I don't know that much about Mr. Hayden's, early days and what he had to go through to get to where he got to. I've heard some of Olive Benson's challenges with, race being that factor. And I was actually there to cheer on Barry Fletcher, who was the only black hairstylist or the only hairstylist, period, to actually place to win a spot on the U.S. Olympic styling team with a black model, only to be told that he couldn't use a black model in the finals because they wouldn't win. And so this is all very emotional for me. It's like I want to welcome you guys for being here and going on this little journey with me. Dave, what do you want to just share before we even really jump into all of this?
It's funny you were speaking about Tom Hayden, and I don't know if you know he was in the military. So,
No.
yeah, he actually started in the military. He retired from the military to go into cosmetology.
Okay.
He was an accountant by profession, and that's where he got his discipline from. So, where you see where he was so strict, even with
Yeah.
his staff, about coming to work on time, or Johnny Jameson. I hate to call his name, but Johnny Jameson normally says, if I came to work 10 minutes late, he said, go back home and get yourself ready for tomorrow because you're not on time for work. So he was a drill sergeant in that sense. That's why I think he became so successful because he had the discipline,
Yeah.
the stick to itiveness, to practice, to have a religious approach to practicing and preparing for competition, which many of us, you know, took a long time to develop.
Hmm.
In terms
Or
of
we wing it.
yes, we wing it. Yes,
Yeah, well, that's really, really interesting. It's like I did know he had the background as an accountant, but I didn't know about the military, and I definitely
yes,
am sure that all of that influenced who he was and who he became, because it's like
yes.
it definitely takes a lot of discipline. So, definitely want you to speak more to that as we go on. But before we jump into our full conversation, it's like if you're here for the first time, I want to just say welcome. If you are
Thank
returning,
you.
I'll say thank you. Each and every week, I have the privilege to interview Black beauty bosses who are doing amazing things in the beauty industry. We give voice to their stories and celebrate excellence while they drop nuggets so to help us all become better beauty pros and better entrepreneurs. And so this is more than a podcast. It really is a movement to encourage Black excellence, entrepreneurship, to preserve our history, and to bring healing to our industry. So I actually want to thank our sponsor, which is the Luxury Hairstylist Blueprint, which gives hairstylists a four-step process to raise their prices and elevate their client experience in 6 weeks or less without fear or guilt. And so I want to invite you. I've got a brand new workbook. It's called the Power Pricing Workbook for a Hairstylist, and it actually shares with you the first 3 steps you need to raise your prices. So if you are in any way struggling with raising your prices, charging your full prices, and wanting to move your business forward as we move into the next year, to definitely grab yourself a copy. It's absolutely free and it's at beautysuperstars.com. And that's Beauty Superstars with an S on the end.com. And you can pick up a free download there. So I want to quickly share Dave's bio, and then we will just dive in because there's so much we want to talk about here and get you guys ready because he'll talk about the joy of competing, but it's like it just has so many layers, and it's like I want you to, if you
Well,
haven't thought about it, to think about it, and if you are thinking about it, if you're already doing it, to take some tips and take some notes from today to really give yourself that extra leg up. So, Dr. Dave Ray, he is an award winning beauty educator, trichologist, entrepreneur, author of 12 publications, motivational speaker, and life skills coach. Dr. Dave Ray, also known as the beauty surgeon, has upwards of 40 years in the beauty industry, and he doesn't look a bit like it, right? Hard to believe, but he is the new sought after customer service guru. Dr. Ray was also featured as the main judge in Chris Rock's HBO's documentary, Good Hair. He was the stylist responsible for bringing to life the Oxygens and Hair Battle Spectacular logos for the Oxygen Network. The beauty surgeon completed hair pieces for the Oxygen Network's Hair Battle Spectacular promo ad, and he has recently been featured in the new Netflix series called We Are the Champions. As board certified master colorist and former regional training director for Mazzani slash L'Oreal USA, he has won almost every national competition in which he's participated. He also runs a successful professional salon, spa, and trichology center, along with hands on training facility in the New York City area for beauty professionals. As president and CEO of the education company and the 9 salon franchise, BeautyWorks, and that's WERKZ, he brings advanced education to 9 areas of the beauty field. Dave has been honored with Cosmetologist of the Year Award 2006 by the New York State and the same in Richmond, Virginia in 2011. The beauty surgeon was recently awarded Educator of the Year 2011 by the Black Beauty Association in Richmond, Virginia. He is chairman of judges for all major U.S. competitions to include the Bronner Brothers competitions. He has a PhD in clinical trichology from the University of Queensland, Brisbane, Australia. He attained a postdoctoral degree from the fraternity of the National Institute of Cosmetology, NIC, which is a division of the National Beauty Culturists League, NBCL, in Washington, D.C., with accreditation from the University of Alabama, Tuscaloosa, Alabama. He is also a certified trichologist and licensed massage therapist. So, is there anything that you don't do, Mr. Dave Ray, Dr. Dave Ray?
No, you could have taken half of that stuff out. And I'm sure you saw when it came, it said, the person who wrote it said, that's my short bio.
Right, exactly.
So, yeah, a lot of it, some of it might be made up. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think so.
The thing is, I've been in this industry, and that was written some time ago because I have, this is my 43rd year in the beauty industry.
Wow. Congratulations.
And, yeah, thank you. And I have no regrets of any part of it. Any part of it. I might say that I wish I'd done some more things that I had aspired to do, but sometimes you have the vision, but sometimes not the drive, in that direction. And so sometimes I procrastinate. But overall, I would say I'm very excited to share my wealth of knowledge and my experiences, both good, bad, and indifferent, because this has so many layers to it. And people sometimes only see the great part of it and say, "Oh my gosh, you're so successful." But what about the parts when I went home crying, or I was weeping, or had a little bit of depression or something because of something that didn't go right or something? So those things we don't normally share unless we're doing a tell-all book or something. But my experience in the beauty industry is one of the most fascinating. I'm happy I didn't become an accountant or bookkeeper or, a school teacher, because those things, they're great assets to our development, but I still think they're boring.
Okay.
So the only place I'm able to express myself and express my energies and my thoughts on hair and creativity and moving from behind the chair to a competition, I call it an expensive hobby because you don't always win. And sometimes even when you win, you've expended so much to get ready for the competition, and even the prize monies or whatever they're giving you is just like a drop in the basket. So, I always tell people, if you're competing because you're trying to make money, this is the wrong area. Right. Thomas even taught me this is an expensive hobby, and I never forgot that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I don't want to glaze over the things that you were talking about, because it's part of why we do the show. Those, we see people on stage and we see, or hear the different success pieces or what have you, but there is, always that backstory of like who you are, what you've gone through to become who you are. It's like there's always a journey, and we don't always get to hear about that, and it's like there's the ups and there's the downs, and and the days you want to just stay in bed and cover your head back with the covers and and just forget it all. And so I appreciate you bringing that up, and it's like we will share some of those things as we go along, because I think it helps people to know that everybody that you're seeing, the Insta famous included, are are human, and you may only be seeing part of the story. So
I agree.
Yeah.
And I share those moments specifically when I'm speaking to someone that I'm mentoring or coaching, because sometimes when they're going through their doldrums, they always think that they're alone. And when you say to them, I went through something similar, or I did something even more severe than that, and then you kind of pull them up. I learned that in my motivational classes, when somebody's down in a hole, for example, and you're pulling someone up, to just say, come up, hold on to the rope and come up. They're like, yeah, you don't know how it feels like down here. When you say, I was down there too.
Right.
And I came up. So if you hold on, you can come up too. It sort of gives them like, okay, there's the empathy comes in place there, where they feel, okay, if he can do it, I can do it. Right. So, or she can do it, So you always kind of want people to understand it is not that you're pulling them up without knowing what they're going through. but
Mm.
allowing them to feel that you have suffered those same ills or those pains, and you saw the bright light eventually, so
Right.
they can as well if they just make that step towards that. So, find
Yeah.
encouragement.
Yeah, definitely that empathy definitely makes a huge difference.
Yes.
And tell us, it's like I always like to know like how people got started in the beauty industry. I've known you, we've known each other for years, and I do not know how you got started in the beauty industry. So I would love to find out.
So the funny things, I'm sure I've written several books, and I've
Mhm.
been writing about my life for about 15 years, and I never haven't completed because the chapter keeps, the course keeps changing.
Right.
So I was in church this Sunday, and one of the gentlemen in church, he's 95 years old, and he came up, whispered in my ear, he says, because he follows me on Facebook. He's one of my church members who's 95 years old. He everywhere I go, he came whispered in my ear this past Sunday, you should write a book about your life because you have done so much. So I said, not as much as you, because he's very popular in our neighborhood. And it's funny writing about yourself. It's can be queasy. I don't know if a biography, autobiography, whatever it is. It's hard to tell all the things about your life and be candid about everything. I prefer to write about things like, maybe how we should be customer service, or how we can do color or something. But when you start talking about yourself, it makes you vulnerable in some space. And sometimes it brings back memories that you sometimes don't want to harness or don't want to, you know.
Mhm.
But how I started in the beauty industry, I'm going to answer your question. I had an years ago, I want to say in the early 70s, my mom had just had my sister, which was our first girl child, because she had four boys.
Mhm.
And when she had to go back to work, before she went back to work, she went to the salon because she was very ill with this child during the pregnancy,
Mhm.
eclampsia and all that kind of stuff, right? And when she went back out to work, she went to the hair salon in the city to get her hair done. Her hair hadn't been done for months. When she walked back into the neighborhood we live, all the girls were saying, "Oh my gosh, Miss Candace, your hair looks so great." And she said, "Oh, but it looked even better, but the wind blew it." I can remember her saying, "The wind blew it as I was walking home." This is in the islands. And I said, your hair looks great. I'm sure I could do a better job. That's what I said.
How old were you?
I was maybe 12 or something like that.
Okay.
I said, her hair looks nice, but I'm sure I could do that. Not even knowing about hair or anything. And when she was about to go back to work, it was a summertime because my sister's born in July 26th, right? And so she trained my brother and me, how to take care of the baby when she goes to work. The islands. We're 12. My oldest brother's like 16 or 17. And she said, just you put him in the bath. You had like a little pink bath, pink basin, whatever you call it. You wash it. You had Johnson's products. You had the baby oil and the baby shampoo and so on. And she trained to brush and comb pink. And she said, give her a bath. Da, 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 da. My sister had very curly hair. She had no hair on the sides, and just right here was really curly. My brothers wouldn't pay my mom any attention, so they went to play cricket, sport. Well, I
Right.
don't like to play cricket because the sun is too hot. So I would take my sister, and I would give her a bath, and then I'd put her in the little stroller and walk her to the cricket game, in the pasture with the other boys. And the wind would blow, and her hair would get really dusty. So I'd
Mm.
take her back home, and I'd give her another bath, and I put the baby oil, and I brush it, and the waves would come, and I would take her back out to the park. I did it like 3 times, and the neighbor saw me doing it. So the neighbor told my mother, David's been taking his child to give her a bath like 4 times a day, right? And he's washing her hair and he's brushing it, because the door is open, they can see. My mom says, "You want to give my kid pneumonia? Why are you taking her to get outside?" I said, "I love to see the waves in her hair." She said, "You're always talking about hair. Why don't you go see my sister?" She has a sister who is a hairdresser.
Mm.
That's not the one she went to get her hair done, though. But she said, "Why don't you go to my sister and see if she can maybe you can be like an assistant, maybe she can teach you." And so I happily went, started to go on Saturdays.
Mhm.
Back in those days, you had Pan Am aircraft, you had BOAC. British Airways was not that big. It was more BOAC and Pan Am and Eastern Airlines. And those would fly to the islands. And all the girls, they with little hats cocked to the side. You remember the flight attendants? We call them
Wow.
hostess. And then, or stewardesses. And they had their nice little uniform and stuff. And they would come to my aunt to get their hair done, a lot of them. And they'll
Mm.
always talk about oh my gosh, how everybody in the flight spoke about their hair and the joy that her services brought to them, and I saw how they responded to her, and
Hmm.
I was really enamored by that whole experience. I was just there, maybe sweeping up. She asked me to get the shampoo ready or something, and I said I want to be able to do that, and so she let me start shampooing here, and that's how I started. But is when I start shampoo, they'll say, "Oh my gosh, he's so young, but he gave me a good scrub. Oh, my shampoo was good." So that's where I started before I started learning how to roller set and so on. So I did all that before I went to beauty school.
Mm.
So that was my start in a nutshell. My aunt, my having the dream about wanting to do hair just from the experiences. And then one night I was watching a movie on television and you know, and I saw the credits
Mm.
and there was a male hairstylist's name.
Okay.
And I was like, wow, I can be a hairdresser. So
Okay.
that's where the dream started. And every time I watch a movie, when the movie is done, they want to turn the television off. I was like, no, let me see. I want to see the credits.
Right.
And the majority of times, it was a male.
Okay.
So that sort of gave me more impetus to wanting to follow this dream. Although I didn't know any male hairstylists at the time, because at the time the islands it was taboo for a male to do hair back then.
Mm.
And we might have had one or two male hairdressers before my time, but they migrated to the states so long, so nobody talks about them. Whereas they were
Oh.
using those days were pressing comb days.
Hmm.
So I came into the era when you had French perm in the box or the little dock over the, you know what I mean? So TCB, relaxer in the boxes. So that's the era that I came into the beauty industry. So the next time I have to tell you, I relaxed my mother's hair at home.
Okay.
And I learned to put rollers in. And when she took the rollers out and her hair was curly, she went to all the neighbors and said, "Look at what my son did." I was like 13. And everybody said, "Dave did that?" Oh my gosh. So that's where I started. Everybody wanted me to do their hair. And then I
Real
always said, well, you
science.
gotta pay me. I need money. So I never did free hair. I always got paid to do hair all
Okay.
my life. So, so that's kind of in a nutshell where I started.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Well, thank God you had a sister. It's like it sounded like that kind of set everything in
And I'll
motion.
tell you right now, she runs my salon in Orlando.
Oh, nice. Okay. Oh, that's wonderful. You guys work together.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. But yeah, thank God you had a sister. But then also, it's like it sounded like you had absolutely no lack of confidence. So it's like I love hearing about. You may not be able to help us that are needing more confidence to develop
Um,
it because it sounds like it was inborn.
and it's funny, even if I wasn't good at something, I still had confidence.
Hmm.
I really didn't care what. I wanted to do it. Sometimes
Right.
I'll be asked to do a service that I've never done, and the person said, "Can you do something?" I said, "Sure, sure." I never said I did it before. I just said, "Sure, I can do it." And I'll
Right.
try. I mean, when I start out, I might be a little bit struggling, but as you keep doing it, you get better. And the person says, "Oh my gosh, I like it."
Uh-huh.
Sometimes I may share, well, it's the first time I'm doing it, but I hardly ever share that part.
Right.
I always act like I've done it before, but you know,
Yeah.
sometimes you can use your innate gift, or you can use logic to get to a certain place.
Hmm.
If you can do that, then and I have to tell you, my first teacher of hair cutting before I went to John Atchison and Vidal Sassoon and all that was Jean Smith. Jean
Mm.
Smith from Bronner Bros. She's the first person who taught me to cut hair. And I was
Okay. Tell us who Gene Smith is
So
before you
Jean
tell us
Smith is a
the
stylist. She's out of Alabama slash. I think she's born in Mississippi, if I'm not mistaken. But she lived in
story.
Alabama.
Hmm.
She worked for the Brown Brothers as one of their directors of education. She's a top side. She passed away about 6, 7 years ago now, I think.
Hmm.
Jean worked along with Jim Williams back in the day. Jim Williams was also one of the famous hairstylists who brought the Bronner Brothers products to life, if you put it in a nutshell. But Jean was a master hair cutter. She made hair cutting simple.
Hmm.
And she's the first person who taught me to cut. I don't
Yeah.
think she knows that, but I'm
Okay.
telling
Yeah.
you.
From I didn't know her very well, but she was, it's like I talked about Shop Talk magazine, which was,
Okay, yes.
our Bible, for people
Ah,
like
yes.
coming into the industry or in the industry. I was in cosmetology school and would read it, every time it came out. It's like, ooh, this is so cool. But she, from what I remember, was like the first person to win the Rolls Royce for
Yes.
styling
He
hair.
is. He
And I
is.
was like,
At the Big
whoa,
Apple Beauty Show.
yeah.
But see, at that time, I did not know about the Big Apple Beauty Show.
Okay.
But
Uh-huh.
she had come to the islands where I lived
Oh, okay.
because the Bronner Brothers agent there, Gloria's Beauty Salon, they were the distribution center for Bronner Brothers products. So every year or twice a year, they're bringing a Bronner Brothers team to style to teach us, using the products, Reflections of You, Royal Six. Remember those products? And
Hmm.
so she came to Antigua and she taught us haircutting at a seminar. Just to
Okay.
do one particular haircut, and that's what started me off. So I started to create twins, triplets, quadruplets, the same haircut. I went to St. Kitts, another island. I just did one cut on someone, and someone said, "Oh my gosh, who did your cut?" So Dave, and everybody who came in got the same cut of jeans. We told me how the section again, and
Okay.
everybody got the same cut. So that started me out with haircutting was from Jean Smith. I still love her to death,
Right, right.
to death, and literally to death. She passed away.
Yeah, yeah, but that's fabulous, and just the impact that one person can have on another person,
It's
and like you
amazing.
said, she probably never knew that she was the first person to teach you a haircut, nor did she know you created like quadruplets or whatever.
Sex couplets and stuff, all that stuff.
It kept going and going.
Going, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, how did you get into competitions? Like that was your start, into hair, but what made you move into the competition arena?
Well, when when I migrated to New York officially, and I went to beauty school, I went to Wilfred's Beauty Academy, which was big in New York at the time. And strangely enough, when I got to school, I was evaluated because I was doing hair before going to school. So they
Mhm.
evaluated me, and I said, "Look, I can do a lot of those things." And so what they did was, they chose to give me back then. They gave me a test to see how well I did on the test, like an entry level test. And I realized I passed most of the things. So they said, "You seem like you know." They had me roller sets and so on. And that was on this is on a trial. And then they said there were 8 cycles in school. I don't know if you all did cycles then, but there were
Mhm.
8 cycles of beauty school. So 8 cycles would be maybe 1 cycle per month. So
Okay.
they decided to put me on the last 2 cycles. So I only did 2 cycles of beauty school.
Okay.
Now they were selling me a kit, the beauty school kit, but my I won't say my stepmom, but my father's ex girlfriend, she had a kit.
Uh-huh.
I hate to tell this story because I hope they're not listening. She went to beauty school and she failed the state board 4 times.
Oh, wow.
So they told her she had to go back to school because she failed 4 times.
Mhm.
She said I wasn't going back, so she gave me her kit.
Oh, okay.
So I went to the school. The kit was $950, and I said I have a kit. And they're like, this guy, we can't make any money from him. So I had the kit. I did the 2 cycles, and I did the state board, and I passed right there at school. And so
Okay.
I didn't get a chance to do competition at school, but then I went to the Big Apple hair show, the same one that Gene Smith
Okay.
entered that Rolls Royce competition. I entered the year with Barry Fletcher,
Okay.
and I got fifth place
Okay.
because I wasn't professionally trained at the time. I was just doing what my creativity told me, and I really didn't follow any of the rules, but I did decently enough for them to put me fifth place. Fifth place.
Okay.
And I was slightly devastated because obviously, you want to win.
Right.
So after that, I kind of got myself into more training. I seeked out Thomas Hayden and that kind of thing, and went to classes and little courses. He would have like a 2 day class, so he sell these videos. Remember, he had those VHS
Hmm.
tapes. I'd buy those and I'd watch them over and over and learn how to comb hair and slowly and so on. And that's kind of how I got into it. And so my second competition, which was a competition held in New York City at the New York Penn Hotel, put
Hmm.
on by the State Beauty Cultures League. I won first place,
Oh,
evening
wow.
hairstyle competition.
Yeah.
I won first place, and from there is when it just catapulted into my wanting to compete. I mean, the joy and the excitement and the suspense that I got from getting ready for competition just started to build. And if I had a client who I thought was good looking or pretty, a young girl, I say, "Would you be my model?" And he asked them, "How much
Hmm.
you gonna pay me?" "I'm not paying you. I'll just do your hairstyle, give you a couple of treatments or something, a couple of styles." And that's how I compensate my models. And normally those competitions were local in New York before I
Right.
started to venture out into, entering like the Proud Lady and Bronner Brothers and so forth. But that's kind of where I started.
Okay. Yeah, that's really, really cool.
Yeah.
And you also make me think about I got to interview Barry and Barry Fletcher, and
Uh-huh.
he was sharing with that competition. He lived in DC. The competition was in New York. It's like took the trip to New York, and he didn't know how they were getting back. So
Okay.
he was like, either I'm going to win that car, or we're going to have
That's
to
right.
hitchhike.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like we put it all on the line. So I think that that's so cool. And then you took, coming in fifth and saying, I really want to win, and you didn't just sulk, but you went on to say, okay, let me get some education, let me get some training, let me see, what I need to improve to win, and then went out and won. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. I think that's the key to this thing. You can't get down downtrodden after you've lost, or you didn't win, or you didn't win, even if you didn't place.
Hmm.
If it's something you want to do, you have to keep working, because sometimes you don't know how hard those people who have won
Right.
work to get to where they are.
Hmm.
And you can't come into competition, I would say haphazardly or impromptu, but
Hmm.
without any sort of training. It's a nice idea to do it. Oh wow, I want to compete, but how things are going these days, your best bet is to get training, because remember, competition made the best man win or the best person win. It's not about how great you think your style is. And, and you can think you have a winning style, but the judges have to be convinced of that, not you.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I had to get to that place. Even when people said, "Oh man, you deserve to win. You should have won." I don't take that as, my mantra, my story. I
Right.
say, "Yeah, but I got to do better." I
Hmm.
never go, "Oh my gosh, why did they rob me?" I never have that attitude, because
Right.
I'm not saying it hasn't happened, but that doesn't fuel me. I always get fueled by, okay, they said they didn't like this style. Let me see what I can do and do better.
Hmm.
And I'm going to step ahead of you. When I entered the Proud Lady in 1990, I don't know, 5 or something around there,
Hmm.
I got fifth. I got fifth place too,
Hmm.
and the audience thought I should have won. It was a big ruckus. People didn't know me. People were
Right.
like cussing because I didn't win, and I'm not from Chicago. And they're
Hmm.
like, "They robbed you. You should have won. You were the best thing." Now the audience liked it, but for some reason, it didn't appeal to the judges.
Hmm.
So
Right,
what I
right, and that
did,
can happen a lot.
yeah, and what I did
Certain
after
things with
that show,
judging.
I'll tell you, after that show, I bought all the videotapes, the VHS tapes that I had of past winners of
Uh-huh.
that same show,
Okay.
and I watched them for the whole year. So the next year I came back, and I found there's um, one factor that I noticed that was the pivotal point in all of those videotapes of the winner.
Hmm.
I'm going to tell you what it is soon. And I decided to use that. And I used this same young lady, Dana, who's now my wife, to be my model. And we went back to the show and we won. Out of 30 competitors, we won first place.
Hmm.
So I'll tell you what it is. The show no longer exists. So I can tell you, the Proud Lady. The judges like black and silver.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I noticed the 4 or 5 videotapes that I had gotten, the winners all had black and silver. I never used black and silver. I used
Hmm.
white with lots of color. I'm from the Caribbean, so I had like red and green and pink and one white dress, and they're like, it's nice, but it's not what we want. And so I said, you know what? They like black and silver. I'm going to use black and silver next time, because that seems to. When I look at the person who got third, second, first in that competition, got fifth, they all have black and silver. And
Okay.
the year before was the same thing. The year before was. So I said, let me go black and silver, which I've never done.
Uh-huh.
And honey, I went back there, and when they called my name, I was in shock. As a matter of fact, Barbara Edmonds is the one who announced the winners.
Okay. Uh-huh.
And I remember when they were calling the winners, and they called fifth place, and they called fourth and third. When they got to third, I was standing beside Dana on stage, and I quietly said to her, "We're not in it. We're not in it." Because the person who became third, who got third place, we thought would have won. That's
Okay.
what we saw from outside. And
Hmm.
I said, just keep smiling, like pretend like you're happy, because we're not very happy. I said, keep smiling, because we're standing on stage with all the other competitors. I said,
Right,
just keep
right.
smiling, Dana, just keep smiling. And then they got to second place. I was like, okay, definitely we're not in it. And when they said the winner from the Bronx, New York, Ray, Dana said, Dave, they're calling us. They're calling us. I'm like, what? What? And I walked up the runway and I started to cry, tears. Now, I didn't cry only because I wanted, if you know the struggle we went through to get to Chicago,
Right, right.
really. Flights canceled in New York. We were put in another flight and we couldn't get on the flight and get another flight. I mean, so many things happened to get us there. As a matter of fact, we registered too late. When we got there, registration was over.
Oh,
And
wow.
we had to explain why we got there so late. And
Hmm.
then I'm going to tell you now, in the room where we prepare for the competition, it was fantasy. They give you like 2 hours or something to prepare your headpieces.
Hmm.
They come in the room and they say, you have 15 minutes, you have 10 minutes, you have 5 minutes. Stop working on your model. Well, I didn't stop.
Oh, gosh.
And I'm in the back of the room. So all the competitors must leave the room and go through the back door so that the judges who will come in through to do the technical judging can associate you with your model.
Yeah.
So your model is standing with a number, and I wasn't finished. And so because they were working the front, they couldn't see me. And the front of her hair was not completed. But what got me in trouble, I used a kind of hairspray and I go, psh, and they heard the hairspray. And I said, who's that? What's that? And they saw me.
Uh-huh.
And they said, leave the room now. And they cussed me out. I felt so bad. I went out with the other competitors in the back and I said, I think I've been disqualified. I broke the rule. I should not have been in the room. And if I was combing her hair, they probably wouldn't have known. But because I used the hairspray, the room was so quiet,
Right.
I heard the sound. And so we had to now go on stage for the night presentation. So this was the technical judge in the afternoon. You have like a break to dress your model really well and all that.
Mhm.
We came on, when they announced me as winner, I was surprised. And someone said to me, judges came to me and said, you won. Although you made that mistake, you were so far away from the other competitors because your hairstyle was so neat. We couldn't see where you started the pieces. It looked like it was growing out of her head. How
Mhm.
did you do that? I mean, I didn't know that's what they used. They said the piece that wasn't finished was insignificant. Just the way
Mhm.
you molded the rest of it. And I said, oh, wow. So I'm saying that to say that I'm not saying for you to do what I did, but the
No
judges
doubt.
look for certain things. The judges look for certain,
Right.
in their criterion, they're looking for certain things that they want to see. They want to be able to see how well it looks, naturally looks, how it looks, even though it's fantasy. It should not look like it's just sitting on top of the head. So that was what they used. And so I appreciated that nugget from them. So moving forward, every time I competed, I made sure that was my mantra, making sure it looks like it's growing out of the head, no matter what style it is, and so forth.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. Don't do that, kids at home. It's but yeah, that's wonderful because a lot of times as a competitor, you don't know what the judges are looking for, which is definitely the same with the audience. It's like they're really
Yes.
far away from the hair, they can't see any of the details and that type of thing. And so it is key to like, like do your best, like you said, do your studying to kind of see, and that's assuming they have the same or similar judges, which they may or may not, that
That's
particular
true. That's true.
year. Yeah. But do all of the pieces that you can to put those things into place. Yeah. So that's an incredible story there. And I know you're full of incredible stories.
You know me long enough to know that.
Yes, yes. And I know you long enough to know that you almost always have a travel story.
Oh, I don't know why.
And I used to be that person. I'm grateful that I have not had, so we'll cross our fingers. I haven't had much in a while, but I was like, I would get back from traveling to my salon, and my team would be like, what happened? Either on the way or on the way back. It's like crazy. So what would you say are like a couple of mistakes that you see, maybe newer competitors or competitors in general making, that, it's like if you just kind of do those things, it might, boost your chances.
So one thing I would, well, not one, but some of the things I would say would be first, model selection. Model selection is really, really important when you're going to compete.
Hmm.
Now, I know this world, we try to embrace every look and every face these days, but you also have to wow judges. So if you have a model that has a striking feature, you may want to use it. But if she has, and I hate to be not political, if she has a bulging neck and she has maybe several rows, I wouldn't use that model.
Hmm.
If she's just um, ill proportionate, I wouldn't use that model.
Hmm.
So I'd want somebody who looks more statuesque, somebody who would be attractive, even if she didn't have a hairstyle. So
Mm-hmm.
when you're ready, or somebody who you can foresee that if you made up her face nicely, should be striking. Those things play a great role. So
Mm-hmm.
great model selection, and don't just pick your cousin because she's your cousin.
Right. And
You
she's
know what I mean?
available. She's off
Yeah.
on that day.
I mean, I remember when I used to compete a lot. I'd walk in the street and I'd see a young lady just walking with her boyfriend or her mother, and I say, "Excuse me, have you ever modeled?" And they're like, "No, I'm looking for a hair model." And they're like, "What's this about?" I remember doing something like that, and the mother wanted to come with her to the salon to see what I was all about. I said, "Sure, you
Mhm.
can come. You can even come on a trip." So you want them to feel comfortable because the girl
Right.
was maybe at the time 18 or something.
Mm-hmm.
So model selection, and that girl, she was a Spanish girl, a mixed to something, and she worked with me for a couple of years. But I allowed her model to be a part, her mother to be a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
So but she was a great model, by the way. Um, and so that's one. I say model selection. Also, read the rules of the competition.
Thank you for
A
saying
lot of
that.
times people don't read the rules; they just go by the create. And I can't really blame them because we, as creative people, reading is not our thing,
Right.
right? We just want to. I mean, you see some of us, we get a new product line, and just to read the instructions, we don't want to do that.
Right.
And then we said this product is not good. Well, you didn't read it. You didn't follow the instructions as it was. So read the rules, because I find when I, even while I'm judging, a lot of people come up to me after, so why didn't I win? And I said, did you see rule number 6? Well, no. Did you read it? No. I just paid the entry fee and I just entered. Well, rule number 12 said this. Rule number 9 said this. And you
Right.
broke those rules. Yeah. So reading the rules. And if you can't interpret the rules well, because all of us are not good at comprehension, have someone read it who is good at comprehension. Whether your clients, when your friends read it back to you and say, oh, well, they say to do this. They
Mm-hmm.
say not to do this.
Right.
It's like when you show up and it says no grotesque, no nudity, no animals, and you show up with half of the breast out, or some private part showing or something, that's a disqualification. So all those things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so the rules are important. Also, um, making sure your hair looks like it was freshly done, as opposed to it look like it was done last week. I have seen competitors do the hair the night before.
Mm.
Client lies on the hair, and you can see, for example, the finger waves are flat because they don't have any ridges. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I know she slept on it.
Right.
Or you added some gel just this morning to straighten it up, and you see the gel is kind of drying in the edges, or the hair is not properly lined. So those little things. Look for neatness. That plays a great role. Symmetry is one thing, but I think neatness plays a greater role. If your hair looks clean and neat, no matter what style it is,
Mm-hmm.
judges tend to be wowed. I also think if you also add a little color to the hair, so even if you're doing a girl who's dark skinned and you're doing a dark hair, hair with black hair, put a little color in there when you're combing it up, so the audience can get some 3D dimension
Mm-hmm.
from the distance. Because if you have blackiness all up and everything is black, they sometimes be able to see the beauty of the look, especially if you have like a wave or some S formation. If you
Mm.
have a color in that, it stands out more from a distance. So even the audience can see. So when you're doing your style, another nugget I'll share is have someone critique your work, which means you're practicing, hopefully. So when you do the styles beforehand, whether it's on a mannequin or a person, you want to have your friends, maybe 2 friends who have different thought processes, come look at your styles, whether it's your husband and your cousin, or your mother and your friend
Mm.
or your neighbor. And they say, I like it, but I would. And many times they're not wrong in rehearsals. You may be surprised.
Mhm.
You want to make somebody who's a consumer look at the work and say, even if it's fantasy, say, wow, that's nice. But yeah, but I wouldn't. And you say, well, you're not a hairdresser. No, because sometimes even some of these competitions, they don't always use hairdressers to judge. They can use somebody who's famous or
Mhm.
somebody who's
Right.
popular. So
True.
you have to also look at it from the eyes of somebody who's a consumer. And if you look at Miss America pageant, they use football players, they use people
Right.
from an actress who are not trained in modeling, but they judge, and they go based. All of them have to put together, their decision based on how they see the model, and that's how they pick Miss America or Miss USA or whatever. So
Mhm.
you want to make sure you can wow people in the process. Remember, in competition is not what you like, is what wow the judges.
Mm.
Your liking has nothing to do with it, because you're gonna go home with a sad face as opposed to with a trophy.
Okay.
So you gotta wow that you make sure you're making an impact When judges have to look at 20 people on one stage, you have to make your work so impactful that they're drawn to your model. Not, oh, that's number 6, okay. Number 7, okay. Oh wow, number 8. Let me go over here and see what this is all about. So there has to be something on that head to make them go, wow, what's this? And look a little closer. And hopefully when they get close, it's neat. It's clean. The lines are nice. You know what I mean? Her face is well powdered. Her neck is not roly-poly, and her zipper is fixed nice in the back. Or, if you have a spoiled zipper, get a nice piece of fabric and throw over it to hide it or something. But don't let me see her bra straps showing, because if it means 1 point to take you away from somebody who you have to make a decision between, you say, well, her dress wasn't too, her bra strap was showing. So that was a turn off. So you have to take 1 point off and give it to this person. Because when there are two people that are competing, and you have to look for one flaw in another. So make sure everything is perfect or next to perfect, that there's no question.
Mm-hmm.
What I find a lot of, Miki, is sometimes when you speak to competitors after the competition, they come and say, oh, they ask questions, what can I do better? And when you start telling them, they start giving you an excuse. Well, I didn't bring the dress that I was going to bring. I don't want to hear that story. This dress was not a good. Well, I had a red dress. I didn't want to hear that. I'm telling you, this dress you brought was not the right dress. Or you had red hair, red dress, where everything was all blended. Right? So what about putting on maybe a nice green dress with the red hair, or put on a nice white dress so the red hair can stand out, or black dress or something. So you have a blonde hair and a yellow dress, like that's all one. So little things like that you have to find out, what you call compare and contrast.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be able to, and if you don't know, get somebody who can train you. Get somebody who's competed on one, or somebody who you see keep winning. Go and talk to them, even if they charge you a small fee. It's an expensive hobby. And they're not going to be always people who are going to do it for you for free. They're people who are going to charge you a small fee for their time and their knowledge and their worth. And you have to value that. And you can, in turn, start winning and start charging. But you have to get to a place where it's not just about getting Shaniqua, I hate to call Shaniqua's name, or, whatever, those name girls, and you all just go to the competition and you don't look prepared. You look kind of unprepared. I don't want to use the other words I was going to use, because I can get very politically incorrect.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So just make sure you wow the judges, you read the rules, you get a great model. Even the males, when they're doing barbering, a guy that has a scar in his head, and you use him for a barber haircut, that's a turnoff. So make sure the person has a decent shaped head, not rolls behind here and so forth. Because I see those things a lot in competitions.
Yeah.
So that's enough for now. Then we can add more.
Well, those I think are spectacular tips. And especially, each one has its own, definite place there. It's like, but I appreciate you talking about the reading the instructions for the competition, because a lot of times we're doing work, or from what I've seen, we're doing work that would belong in a different competition. So we're not even in the same category of
really good point.
Hairstyling, because we didn't read the instructions as far as what is the definition of what they're saying is avant-garde or evening or whatever it might be.
Precisely. So, you're so on point with that one. I agree with you in that one.
Yeah. So read it. Like you said, get somebody else to read it and kind of make sure you have an understanding, because from a judging standpoint, that's what we're going to do first, is read what are the instructions before we go and look at the hair. So, yeah.
And I'll tell you something. That's one of the reasons why Bronner Bros has kept me for so long.
Mm-hmm.
I won't say because I'm great. It's because I like to follow the rules.
Mm-hmm.
And strangely enough, I will tell you this. It's a little nugget. In the past, and I can say this, Bronner Bros has been sued many times, because after the show, when people, go back to their humble abode, they have their lawyers read the rules, and they realize the person who won didn't follow the rules, and the lawyers would always reach out to Bronner Brothers saying, my client, enter the competition is for $10,000 or $5,000, whatever. Mm-hmm. And they did everything that they were supposed to do, and the person who won had a great style but didn't follow the rules. Mm-hmm. And so we're asking for compensation, and the Bronner Brothers normally settle because they don't want this to be a big deal. So they tend to keep me on because I am very particular and very technical. And even when we're in the judging room and one judge who may say, "Oh, I like that style," and I say, "Yeah, that style was nice, but did you read rule number so so so? This is not a fantasy competition.
Right.
This is a wear competition, and so on." And so, because of that, I tend to um, quell all those, those little issues. For example, after
Hmm.
the competition, the people who will contact Bronner Bros and say, "Well, I think I should have won," and they will say, "We'll have you call Dave Ray." So I'm at home. The show is over. It's a week later, and I'm getting calls. And sometimes you do three-way conversations with Bronner, and I will say the reason why, man, you didn't win, and I was late. And they say, "Oh, I didn't realize that." I said, "Yeah, rule number 13 and number 9 said so so so. Did you follow those things?" No. So, you know, I'm so sorry. You have to follow the rules. Your style may be great, but you weren't in proportion of what we asked for.
Right.
And so once you kind of tell them and they understand it, even if they're not happy, they realize they don't have a leg to stand on.
Right.
And so after the call, the brown birds all say, "That's why we call you, because we know you don't make jokes." Because I mean, we've had arguments in the judging room where the judge is saying, "Well, I think this person should win." I'm saying, "Well, I'm not going to endorse that." So I'm telling you right. I mean, you might not know the fight we've had in judges' rooms, and I hate to say this, sometimes you have judges in the rooms who are fighting or batting for their friends who competed. I don't know that. I don't care. I just know this person didn't deserve to win. And I said, if I'm asked, I'm going to say, well, I said, I'm going to make it clear to the people that
Hmm.
that person won was not my selection. And if you want me to do that, I'll do that. So because of that, they always sort of go back to what I say and use the rules. And not because of me. The rules are written.
Right. Right.
And we have to kind of go by the rules. It's not personal.
Right.
Um, and it's very unfair for somebody to follow the rules and work hard to abide by the rules, and then somebody who didn't gets away with it.
Hmm.
And in that vein, I'll tell you a the quickest story I can do.
Hmm.
So Sensational, the weaving company, some years ago, they had me be the head of their judges panel as well. So they went around the country doing a weaving competition, and they did like 12 cities. And I was the head judge for them as well. And when
Hmm.
we were going to Jacksonville, which is where my sister lived at the time, she was going to be the school in Jacksonville. Oh, I call I called her to say, yeah, audio. Can you hear me?
We lost you for a second. You
Okay,
said that
great.
your sister was going to cosmetology school in
Yes. So I
Florida.
called her to say I was coming to Jacksonville to judge a competition that weekend. So the sensational group of companies, Korean company, they had the judges fly in, and they had a dinner for us between the technical judging and the night show. So
Okay.
technical judges from 2 until 5, and between 5 and 8, they have a really white tablecloth dinner for us. Really nicely sponsored. They invite the mayor of that city, the
Mm.
state senator of that city, and so on. And we have like a nice dinner, very very nicely done. But you can invite a friend who lives in the city. So I called my sister. Said you can come to the dinner, and you can come and sit VIP at the show tonight. It's a free show.
Mhm.
And she said sure. She was coming. Now at the end of the show, her school had competed in that same competition, unbeknownst to me. And they
Mhm.
like third place or something in the school's category. And at the end of the show, she introduced me to the people who were in the competition and said this was her brother who was a judge. And they looked at her and said, "That's your brother?" And she said, "Yes." This is, "Why did you go to the competition?" Apparently, she was supposed to compete with them. I didn't know that because she never
Wow.
said it to me.
Uh-huh.
And she said, "The reason why I dropped out because my brother said he was coming to judge. And I know if my brother comes to judge, y'all would not place because my brother would be harder on me than anybody else because he's that kind of person." Tells you that you don't win because you know Dave Ray. You win because you deserve to win. And my sister was proof of that because she knows my principles and how I've always existed. Even when she worked with me in the salon as a receptionist, she saw how I treated people. And I always try to be fair. I don't like to cut corners with people. I know people do. That's not who I am. I always try to do things above board, especially what's seen. The image that you create about yourself.
Mhm.
So that is, always try to be honest and fair in your preparation for competition. Don't just think because you know one of the judges you're going to win. Work towards that win.
Right.
So that the other judges who don't know you can also be impressed by your work. And you can't always avoid knowing someone when you're competing, because we all in the same industry, so you might know two or three of the judges. That doesn't mean that you should win, because you should win meritoriously, as opposed to it being based on just familiarity. And
Right.
that's kind of how I feel that we have to look at this thing. um, when I do the competitions here, Mrs. Bronner, who is the head of the manager of the judges, she said you always complain about the quality of the she said you always complain about the quality of the work that competes. I said, well, I mean, I judge them, but a lot of times the work is, I have to say, a lot of them are substandard,
Mhm.
because after competing in Europe and China and so on, following the Black Trophy styling team or going on my own to compete, which we haven't even gotten to that yet. When I got to train with avant-garde and evening and day to night and all that kind of styles, you had to get training for those things.
Mhm.
And when you travel and see the quality of work that's abroad, and you realize that when we go to these so-called black shows, they are substandard. So I want to say 2018, Mr. Brown and I went to Paris to the competition the first time going. And when she got to the competition arena and she saw the quality of work, she was mesmerized. She was saying, no, I can understand why you keep talking about substandard work, because this work is phenomenal. How did they do this? I said, they practiced, they got a trainer, they practice and practice and practice.
Mhm.
And it became a craft, not just, a fly by night kind of look. It's a craft. And you have to be totally devoted to it. Sometimes you have to have nights where you just, 2, 3 nights a week, where you just work on this alone, and get mannequins and this, put a mannequin between your leg, comb and watch the soaps if that's what you want to watch, and comb, watch the movies and comb. You have to be disciplined. So I'm not saying everybody will be able to, but if you really want to be a serious competitor, you're going to have to do those things. If
Mhm.
that makes sense to you.
Absolutely.
Train.
Yeah, absolutely. We're You're breaking up just a little bit, but I think we got everything that you were trying to share with us. But yeah, it is phenomenal to see work that is at, like the definite A game level, and being able to aspire to
Yes.
that. And like you said, get trainers. Actually, I just saw a message. I think it's called the Southeast Hairstyling Awards, and they awarded Anne Bray a Lifetime Achievement
Ah,
Award, and she has trained many of the international competitors. And I just found out that she is the first female American to win international competition. And she shared a little bit. I'm going to be posting that on sharing it on my Facebook page as well. But it's phenomenal to go. And I know Barry's trained with her, and most of the people who've won international competition have trained with
she
her.
also trained us so that you know.
Say say that again. Oh no. Yeah, she and her husband, Gary, Ann and Gary Bray,
She and her husband Gary Bray also trained Tom Hayden.
uh, they were we can't hear you, but they are some of the best in the world, definitely the best in the country in terms of getting training at that international level. Is there anywhere outside you might be able to go? Pick up a signal better?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Anywhere
I can
outside?
hear you.
You keep freezing.
I don't know if there's anything in this house. I said, I don't know if there's anything in this house. See, it's not freezing on my end. It's just I see you freezing. So I don't know.
Okay.
My camera's still on.
Okay. You see me
Um,
freezing.
my
Well,
camera is on. I can, yeah,
that's not gonna.
I don't
I was
know.
gonna see if maybe you had earbuds or something. Sometimes that helps, but I don't know if it will help because you're freezing. Um, Sometimes that helps if there's an echo or something. Um,
Yeah, I can see it, but uh,
I can't. We are losing you, and I'm so upset.
let me see. Let me go. Give me 1 second. Let me go see if anything is with the internet here.
Okay.
Because I can see you clearly, but it's going and coming. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, but your mouth and your
Can you
face
hear
aren't
me?
going with the sound. And it sounds like
So
maybe
the same thing was happening with you. So I don't know.
right.
Maybe something here. And
Yeah.
this is not my internet. You know how that
Do you have
works.
any earbuds?
Yeah, I do. I don't know if you'll be able to hear me through them. Let me see. Let's
Well,
see
they
what I
may.
have here.
Or sometimes that helps, but it's not usually that we're breaking up.
Clear,
And
yeah. Let me see. Let's see what we can get here. Everything seems clear now because I can see. Let me just put this in here. See something.
okay, I can see you moving around, but now I hear myself the feedback.
Can you hear me?
Yes, it's really low though.
It's low.
Is
Yeah,
there
it's low.
any volume on your end? Because I think you're up as much as I can go on this end. And the video portion is better.
It seems to be still now. It seems to be holding better now.
Okay, let's see what we can do.
Yeah.
Say
Can you
something.
hear me better? Or
I can. I can hear you better.
no, but
I,
we're stable now. So maybe I can plug it out. Let's
say
see.
that again.
Maybe I can plug it out. Let me plug it out. Yeah, I can plug it out. Can you hear me better now?
I can.
Yeah, and you look stable now, like it's not moving. Hopefully, it stays that way.
Okay, yeah, same on your end.
Yeah,
You're not fuzzy and we can actually hear you.
yeah.
So, now I forgot what you were talking about.
We're talking about Anne Bray and her awards, and I was telling
Oh,
you that
yeah.
Anne and Gary Bray trained Thomas Hayden.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Yes. So
Yeah. 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 Definitely working with a trainer elevates you to a whole nother level. But like you say, using the videos and the things that you did were great as well. And I wanted to ask you, like you gave a lot of tips and what have you for in-person competitions, but obviously, with COVID and everything else, it's like there are a lot more online and photo type competitions. When I did the Proud Lady, it was a photo competition. Um, back when it first started, it's like that was how that was set up. Naha's photo, Monet Everett has set up Texture Style Awards. And so, any suggestions for people who are competing in that type of competition where it's a photo competition?
photo competitions, I always suggest that you get a qualified, a professional hair photographer because the first time I entered a hair competition that was a photo competition, I didn't do well because the photos were focused on the person and not on the hair. So good lighting, especially when you're using special effects or you're doing something that's very three-dimensional, you want to make sure you have somebody who knows about lighting for this hair. And the background has to say a lot. The background has to bring the hairstyles out. So when the judge look at it, they go, even if the hairstyle is not that great, but the lighting can
Mhm.
really make the hairstyle pop.
Yeah.
That's like tremendous because, for example, if you want to have red tones coming, you have a red light and a bright light in the back, you see red glare, like a nice reflection of red coming from there, like red is shooting from there. All those things you can do, or green coming from over here or something. So you can really focus on exactly what you want to be your main focus on the look. That's important in photo, especially these days, and especially doing something like Naha. Naha, I entered Naha, I want to say many years ago, and those days they weren't recognizing us, so it was difficult for them to even look at your work. And I had a good photographer, but I think they're more open minded now, especially Black Lives Matter and the whole George. They're opening their doors more now to allowing more. Not saying that black, because Evie has won. What's his name? Trey, the guy who's Evie's friend, he has won. So they're opening their doors more now to African Americans.
Hmm.
But at the same time, we have to produce good work. We have to think outside the box. The work has to be really unconventional. You cannot do like hairstyles you do in your salon and just prop them up a little bit. You have to really go over the top. And it
Mhm.
has to speak a language. It has to say something. It has to send a message in the style that you're trying to create. So
Right.
whether it's art imitating life, or or um, art imitating 3D or futuristic or something, has to be something that I go, ooh, wow, this is something that's really unconventional.
Mhm.
Those competitions are you're talking about people from Canada, people from London, people all over the world who have creative energies for those kind of things because they have big fields and big lands and they can see far ahead of them. I
Mhm.
find when you compete, you can only see just across the street. You tend to do work that's just across the street. But when
Right.
you can see mountains way ahead of you
Mhm.
or hills way ahead of you and lots of land, your creative mind seems to flow a lot better. If you live on a hill and you have lots of trees below you and you have a far-reaching vision of what the world looks like, your
Mhm.
creative energies are better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense to some people, but I find if you want to think clearly, if you want to write better, you take
Mhm.
off some time, go into the hills, and you all the, your brain. When you're in a big bustling city or small community,
Mhm.
it's not the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the same thing with competition. You have to be at a place where it's supposed to be so inspirational, the look that you create,
Mhm.
not just from. It shouldn't just look like it's graphic graffiti. Right? It should look like something that's breathtaking and over the top for a style. It's just like with fashion. Same thing. When you're doing a fashion competition with its clothes, you have to really get to that place where it's a conversational piece.
Mhm.
Not a bad conversation. It got to be a good conversation. So that's what I think about photo competition. Really impress the judges with the good photography
Uh-huh.
that you have to really bring your point across in that look.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think you're so right. Everyone has, a phone and, and a ring light, and we're like, oh, well, we'll just do it. And some of them say you don't need it, but I think, from looking at a judging standpoint, that you're seeing those clear differences between a professional hair photographer versus someone who, can see something through their phone, but it doesn't get quite captured in that same way. So. And I love what you were talking about with the creativity and kind of expanding, because I was just thinking like creativity needs space, whether that's in your mind, clearing a way for it's like, okay, to be that channel to receive that inspiration, whether it's going somewhere physically different where you see a different perspective, or even from like magazines, like
Yes.
getting things like Italian Vogue or British
Ah,
Vogue and things like that
I
that
agree.
allow you to open up even if you haven't traveled there.
I certainly agree with that. I certainly agree with that. And you have to make your look somewhat has an illustrative look as opposed to. So when I look at it, it looks like, is this a real person? Because the work is so, you know, uh, creative that you can't believe it's actually a person. So give that illustrative look of that look that you create, if that makes sense to you. So
Yeah.
the conversation becomes, look at the detail and how the jawline looks and how the hair goes with something like that.
Hmm.
Or the if you're using accessories, how is it accessorized to really accentuate the look that you're creating?
Hmm.
Let the accessory not overpower the look. That's another thing,
Right.
Mickey, we have to speak about. When you're competing, people make these big ornamentations, and it's so huge that you lose the style, as opposed to make it nice and simple that it accentuates the style, and not overpower the look. So those are some things. Those are some tips that I've learned as well. I
Yeah.
have to.
Yeah.
You have to throw that in there.
All your design elements need to be incorporated into it. And one of the things that I was thinking as you were speaking was, it's like you really have to get good at the basics before you can elevate those basics to the level that you're talking about, understanding line and form and shape and color and, like the accessorizing and what's the scale of what those things need to look like. And so I think it's, maybe pulling out your cosmetology book and, it's like, what is your roller placement? Do you understand roller placement? And I'd say, I want to ask you what's the best tip that you got, but one of the tips that I got from Thomas Hayden, obviously who was an international competitor. And in those competitions, the comb out might be 3 minutes or 6 minutes or something along that line. And he told me, before we were going in to judge a competition, it's like when the model comes in with the rollers in, you can already tell who won because
Uh,
in 3 minutes, 6 minutes, you can't fake it. You don't have enough time to, if you haven't put that style in there from the beginning as a foundation, there's no way you're going to win because you can't comb that fast.
yeah,
It's got to be in there and you've got to know, bam.
I hear you, and it's funny you said that about the roller placement, because that's one of the things I learned from Thomas and Olive
Hmm.
about roller placement and really creating a great base for you to work from and to come from. If you want to have a nice S formation, a nice smooth, you know, have the hairstyle just fall. The hair something speaks for itself once it's properly roller set.
Right.
You don't have to do all that much work. The hair will
Right.
just work for you.
Yeah.
So that is one thing that I think you. I had a thought while you were speaking about you know, being in Italy and all that stuff, and it thought just slipped me, but hopefully it'll come back. And it has to do with also with getting prepared for competition. I'm gonna hopefully I remember it about ornamentation and so forth.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
as you said, significantly, all of your work should. Oh, I know what I was gonna say. So you said something about you have to know the basic
Hmm.
before you can get to that level, and I think that's the big problem. A lot of people don't know the basic.
Hmm.
And the reason why I'm going to piggyback on that when I'm teaching classes, even in hair color, I start by telling people you have to know the basic. So I use the example, Mickey, that when you are going to learn piano lessons, the piano teacher always teach you how to play the basic right in front of you. So do re mi fa sol la ti do or whatever, right there. So your
Hmm.
hands stay right here until you learn that. Then she starts expanding your hands, so your hands can go out and go and do all. But you have to know what's in front of you first. This is basic. Advanced is when you go here. Intermediate is here. Advanced is when you start going out here. The bass and the falsetto. Then you can come all back down to the center. But you can't get to the bass and the falsetto if you don't know the basic. So if you want to become a great race car driver, you have to learn to drive first. You
Hmm.
have to understand the rules of the road. You have to pass the license, and then you go on to becoming a race car driver. You can't just pick up a car and go race car driving. So it's the same kind of concept in the industry where you have to know the basic of the rudiments of roller placement, the rudiments of structure, shapes, angles. All these things have to be known first, even if you don't get them perfectly, but you have an idea what they mean and
Right.
how to execute some of them. What a diagonal line mean, what it does, what kind of movement you're going to get from that,
Hmm.
etc. What a vertical line means, what's a horizontal, all those kind of things. What
Right.
concave and convex means. So when you're starting to work and comb and frame, you can keep those things in mind for, how you're going to, if the head is this way, what look you're going to create if the hair is this way. If it's that way, if you want to create this. So you have to know lines and what parallel to the floor is. All these things, you have to know them. So to be a good hair cutter, to be a good colorist can help you become a good comber if you know the basic things. So you can then expand on them and take it to another level. So you're kind of right with that. I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yeah, yeah, that's phenomenal. And what I wanted to ask you is, how did competing help your salon work,
Ah,
or did it? I
I'm
don't.
glad you asked that question. So from competing, my creative energies flowed a lot more. So when it became time for like updos or any kind of styling technique, people go having a bridal party, they go, funny in my area where when I used to work fully in the salon every day, people the word around is that, and I hate when people say, they say he's really expensive, but he's really really good. The look he's gonna give you for your wedding or your bridal party is gonna be different to what you see in the other salons, and that came from my learning how to comb hair. And the word comb here doesn't mean comb just comb down. Comb here means how do you shape and frame and mold and so on. And that came from competition. So when you copy the look, they go, wow, how do you do that? Sometimes I'm doing weddings and I don't know what I'm going to do at the start of the wedding. I just start working. And the hair, because the hair is either roller set well or the hair is nice and flow, you can pin the hair up to whatever you want. And the hair just starts flowing. You start pinning and you're like, wow. Even sometimes I wow myself because that's what I expected to happen. And everybody goes, Duplicate that, do it again. You can't do the same thing.
Right,
It
right.
just, so you have to practice that 100 times. But then the next bridesmaid or whatever, you do something different on her.
Hmm.
You know, you make sure your ornamentation is so simple that, and I learned this from Olive Benson. She always says less is more. So you put that little accent, and the whole hairstyle pops. So, wow, you know,
Yeah,
it's like a focal point.
yeah.
So you make that as opposed to make it overpower. And so those are things that you have to learn. So styling here in the salon became better, and I will tell you, my staff watched me, practiced with me, and they became better stylists as well. They started to create better looks. Even when you did a haircut, and how you comb the cut when you finish curling it, or you
Hmm.
finish, or even when you just take out rollers and comb the hair, and then you zhuzh the hair, and you zhuzh it, and the hair just falls. You see the line, you go, oh, leave that right there. You put some Aquanet, you go, okay, go to the counter,
Okay.
make a payment. You know, the hair is speaking to you. It's like, oh, look at that head. You know,
Right.
sometimes you just take a nice big rake and you rake that hair back and you push it forward. You see the hair does this. And you're like,
Hmm.
wow. Sometimes it's doing more than you expect it to do, and it's so beautiful. Like, you know, can we take a picture of this quickly? You know what I mean? So
Right.
it does make you become a salon, if you're trained, one above the rest.
Hmm.
And not that the other salons are bad, but you should have something that cause people to want to come to you. And
Right.
it's your styling technique, the way you comb here, the way you style here, whatever. I think that helps me most. If you even check it out, the people who compete a lot in the shows, even the ones that are no good, so to speak, when you go to their cities, they have a lot of clients because
Yeah.
their creative energy is flowing all the
Hmm.
time. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. And they understand the basics. And then the thing I found as well is the speed. It's like
Speed.
much faster in the salon, or at least I was
Speed.
from competing.
Speed. I forgot that part. Speed. I'll tell you, when I judge, for example, the barber competitions, the guys get 45 minutes to cut a haircut just for the show. And sometimes when you go up to the models, they're not ready. The
Hmm.
hairstyle is undone. And I say, you took 45 minutes to do this one cut, and you charge how much in your salon? $12. So you're making $12 an hour, roughly. You got to work a
Right,
little
right,
faster. I said, you
right.
had 45, some of you had an hour, and the work is still not done. They said, yeah. I said, that's because, you know, they work and they talk and instead of starting to work on the head, you know? And
Hmm.
then they don't look for balance. It's the other thing, Mickey, we have to tell people that when you're competing, most times you don't have a mirror. So you
Mm.
have to stand back from your work and you have to look at your work, go in front of your model and look to see, is that balance on both sides? If you're looking for balance,
Hmm.
or is the asymmetry exactly speaking the language I wanted to speak? Is the piece that's here blending with the piece here? So we can see a nice line flowing here, whatever. But you have to stand back from it. You can't work here. You have to stop, go
Right.
look. Okay, I need to fix that side because
Mm.
that's what the judges are going to do.
Yeah.
So looking at your model from a distance helps. But
That's one of the other things. Your eye gets so much sharper.
yes, the eyes.
Yeah. Yeah. Your eye is key.
And
So,
you know, when I did photo shoots with professional photographers and I take a model to the photo shoot, they'll say, "Look in the camera. Tell me what you see needs to be fixed on this model." And you go, "Oh wow, I didn't see that two strands that you need to be fixed that way." That also helps you in competition.
hmm.
So I learned a long time ago, Mickey, I'll tell you this one. When we used to have those little Polaroid cameras, the
Uh-huh.
disposables. So I used to take pictures of my models when I'm practicing,
Mm.
and I take them to Walgreens or wherever and have them develop. And I go, oh, yeah, this is horrible. This doesn't look good. So we need to work on this again because sometimes in the naked eye you can see one thing, but when you see photo, it's something
Yeah.
else. So all those are things. I'm just saying, all these things are what you call an expensive hobby. You
Okay.
have to invest in it to really make it pop. So when you actually go to do it on stage, like when we competed in Paris with Tom Hayden,
Hmm.
they said we had 20 minutes to comb hair on stage,
Okay.
but he had us comb hair in 15 minutes,
Hmm.
and he kept saying you got to do 15 minutes because when you get on stage you're nervous. That so you give yourself an extra 5 minutes to play with. So that's the other thing. If the competition says you have 30 minutes to comb hair, try to do that same combing in 20 minutes or 22 minutes or 23 minutes. So you still have a little 7 minutes to play with, so
Hmm.
you have more time to work. But
Yeah.
try to get it down to time. So that's important too.
Yeah. And don't overcomb. That was
Don't
one of the things. It's like, or even over practice. I think I don't know if it was Thomas or not, but it may have even been. very, I don't know who it was, but somebody told me it's like you want to practice and practice and practice so that you peak on the day
Right.
that you're actually competing. And the same thing, like if you finished your work and there's still more time, do not go back and fiddle. You will unwin
Yes,
it.
that's true.
Fiddling, it's like, oh well, maybe I should just,
I agree with that too.
yeah.
Just use the time to accessorize. Make sure all the accessories are in place.
Hmm.
The dress is straight, and then everything. So you look at the models, and
Leave
yeah,
that hair alone.
maybe fix the ear a little bit better and so on. But leave the hair. But the hair is already
Right.
in. Yeah.
Yeah. So I really
Sounds like you're going to be a fabulous judge for the Naha.
well, it's
They, bet,
already fun.
they better be ready for you.
Yeah, it's like I guess you could say I'm critical, pretty critical, but
Very good.
I'm well trained at the same time. I know what I'm looking for and looking
Yeah.
at, and so it was great to do that, and I think I'm going to get some other opportunities to do some things in person as well. So they say don't hate the judge. So yeah, but all of those things I think just help you so much to become a better stylist. And it's like, and taking, like you say, when people come up and ask you what to do, don't make the excuse about what it is. Listen,
Just
and
listen.
see, okay, I get that. So what else, and
Yes.
continue to get those critiques because it does help you go back and it's like, dang, I could have won if I only did, X and that type of thing. And it's all the little things. And that was one of the things I think I shared in my post that it's, like you see a photo finish race at the Olympics where one person leaned in just a little bit more, you know, to win, the first prize or whatever, the gold medal or what have you.
Mm-mm.
It's the same a lot of times, like you were saying, it's like it's that one point where it's like you've got to distinguish, who that winner is versus the second place. So
And one of the things I can add to this, as you said about listen to the critiques, the little critiques, you have the ones who will come back to you when you give them your tips.
mm,
And sometimes they don't come back to the show, or they come back and they still get fourth, fifth place.
hmm.
But you have the ones who have listened, and to be honest with you, a lot of times at the Bronner Bros, I don't remember the competitors.
Right, right.
So when they come to you in February or in August or the next February, they have a different hairstyle, a different
Hmm.
look. I don't remember
Right.
their faces. And they come to me and say, I have to say thanks because I won this competition because say you won? Because most times I don't know who won. They
Right,
say, I
right.
listened to what you said in February or listen to what you said last year and I won. I remember one girl came to Bronner Bros. She said, you judged me in Texas at a show and I came back and did the same stuff, but I did it better and I won. So I thank you for your advice. So
Mhm.
I've seen the proof of it from you're giving people advice and they coming back. That's a reward for me. And they
Yeah.
come back and say, I've won. Don't you remember me? I, what's your name again? I am the girl who you spoke to in Oakland, California. Oh,
Right.
wow. I'm so happy. Don't remember, you know, because I'm not doing it from a personal standpoint. I'm doing it from a place of professionalism. And I want to see the best for anybody who competes. I
Hmm.
want to give the best advice because it's about your executing your work and do it to win me over. All the other stuff is personal. I don't have time for that. I
Okay.
really think, and that I try to make it not about whether I like the person personally or if I like how they look. It's about what work did they produce.
Hmm. Yeah.
So yeah,
Usually judging, you don't even know who's done it anyway. So it really is, the hair has to stand on its own.
it's just that is all.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it's like I want to thank you so much for just taking time to join us today and really share this part of your story because it's like we know there's so many different layers to your story, but I think it's so great to hear, from someone who has competed, from someone who's judged and is judging and is over judges, to be able to get like what's the scoop and how do we really excel, not only if we're competing, but in our day to day life, whether it's hair, whether it's makeup, whether it's nails, whether it's, any other part of the beauty industry. It's like competing makes you so much better.
Makes
So,
you better.
there any words or anything else you'd like to share with us?
I would just say in the end, in closing, I would say build your confidence. Don't take things so personally. Work hard at what you do. Work smart. Work on time. Be disciplined. And I'm not saying every competition requires discipline, but the majority of them do. And I would suggest the more disciplined you are, the more structured you are, the creativity will still be there, but having some sort of system that you can work with on with and on so that you can be best at your craft and also best at your timing. If you create a system, you can cut that, your time can be cut in half if you create a system as to the look that you're going to create. So that is important. And also just wow the judges, pick great models. Those are things that I look for. And so just want to wish everybody who plans to compete well. And if there are books or if there are magazines that you can purchase, or if there are any courses you can find online with competing, because believe it or not, there are many people who train people out there for competitions. You can seek them out if you want to. You can find them on Pinterest. You can find them on Tumblr. There are people out there. I've found people out there who are trainers, and so you can seek them out, or even people who have competed and have won several times. Even get them to give you a little bit of coaching, even if they want to charge you a small fee. It is what it is, and just maybe make them a part of your life, especially if you live in the same city. Where you're getting ready for competition, they can help guide you, not do the styles for you, but guide you along the way.
Right.
And I think after a while, when you learn the rudiments of competing, you'll be able to get a natural knack for it, where you can sort of create things on your own and know that this is right or this is not right. So that's some of the things I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, wow. That's a mouthful. So I hope everybody has like really taken this to heart and really embracing, because everything you talked about is great for everyday life as well,
Yes.
the Beauty Pro.
Yeah.
So how can we stay in touch with you and what's next for you?
Well, I'm working on. I have a major show. Miki, you better be coming to New York in
Uh-oh.
April 3rd to 5th in
Okay.
New York City. It's at LaGuardia Hotel in New York. We're doing a 3-day symposium, on all levels. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna have hair competitions on a Sunday night, so you may have to come to judge. Keep your phone lines open, Miki.
Okay.
So we have that. I'm doing something with Freddie J in Dallas this December. I think December 12th.
Oh,
Flying to
okay.
Dallas to do something with her. And I'm
Awesome.
getting calls from people planning for next year and doing a few trade shows next year, because I love doing the trade shows, even if it's just going to mingle and
Mhm.
having a drink with friends. I love going. So a few trade shows next year, but I'm working mainly on my show next year, because we were supposed to do it in 2020, but because of the pandemic, we had to shift it. So instead of doing it 2021, I decided to put it to 2022. The same location, La Plaza Hotel, right at LaGuardia.
Mhm.
And we'll have a website. You can go to my website, which is Dave Ray Enterprises. That information is not fully uploaded yet, but it's daveryenterprises.com, and you can find me there. But the website for the for the show will be Phenomenon 2022. The numbers. So Phenomenon, it was phenomenon2020.com, but now we just bought that domain,
Okay.
phenomenon2022.com. So that's where you'll go and be able to find stuff about the show. So we're working on the website now. It should be up in a couple of weeks. And I build websites as well. So
Okay.
yeah, so
What
that
don't
I
you do,
do.
Dave?
Yeah, I do. I started doing websites at the beginning of 2020, like March of 2020 when the pandemic hit. And so
Mhm.
I built a few websites for a few salons and a few daycares and a few churches and all that
Awesome.
kind of stuff. So I am working on the website right now for the Phenomenon 2022. And you can go to daveryenterprises.com or email me at daveryenterprises@gmail.com. Enterprises with an S on the end. Not
Okay.
Daver Enterprise, but Enterprises.
Okay. And I have it correct on the scroll?
There you go. You have it. You have it.
Okay. Okay.
That's it.
Perfect.
That's it. You
Yeah.
got
So
it.
you guys
And you're
definitely.
fast. You're faster than I am. So you talked about. Now I understand why you spoke about speed when it comes
Okay.
to. Yeah. And my phone number is public. It's 347-934-8494. If I see a strange number, I normally answer. If it's
Okay.
the IRS, I'll just hang up. But
Got it.
yeah. But other than that, it's my number is public. 347-934-8494.
Awesome.
Thank you for having me, Miki. I
Yeah,
appreciate that.
thank you so much for being here. It's like we definitely, get a joy from getting to connect with you and just hear all of your expertise and the wonderful stories and just the mindset. It just shifts who we are as beauty
Yes.
pros and as entrepreneurs. So
Yes.
thank you for that.
Thank
And
you.
so we will look forward to seeing you guys soon. I want to say thank you again for joining us today, making it to this point, and I hope you have some great things to take away from today. And it's like drop them below in the comments section and let us know what stood out to you and what could make a difference for you to maybe be that next champion. So thank you again, Dave. I want to invite you guys, if you haven't already picked up your copy of the power pricing workbook for hairstylists. You want to grab that. It's absolutely free and it's at beautysuperstars.com. And it helps you with the first 3 steps that you need to take to raise your prices and charge what you're worth. So look forward to seeing you guys next week. Again, I'm Miki Wright. I'm with beautysuperstars.com. And I hope that you keep reaching for the stars. So take good care and we'll see you soon.